Interactions of radiation with the atmosphere. Interactions of radiation with the atmosphere. All radiation used for remote sensing passes through the atmosphere before and after it has interacted with the Earth's surface. The atmosphere alters the radiation's frequency, intensity, and direction. In reality, of course, atmospheric effects on remotely sensed imagery are complex and diverse. Radiance measured by an aerospace-borne sensor is affected by numerous factors, not solely diffuse sky radiance between the sensor and the target on the Earth's surface. The atmosphere mainly affects the visible and infrared wavelengths and has more minor effects on the microwave wavelength. Before radiation used for remote sensing reaches the Earth's surface, it has to travel through some distance of the Earth's atmosphere. Particles and gases in the atmosphere can affect the incoming light and radiation. These effects are caused by the mechanisms of scattering and absorption. There are three physical processes involved. Scattering. Scattering, which changes the direction and intensity of radiation, see illustration below. Absorption. Absorption, in which incident radiation is retained by constituent parts of the atmosphere, thereby reducing its intensity. Refraction. Refraction, which changes the direction of radiation as it passes through the atmosphere. Scattering occurs when particles or large gas molecules present in the atmosphere interact with and cause the electromagnetic radiation to be redirected from its original path. How much scattering takes place depends on several factors, including the wavelength of the radiation, the abundance of particles or gases, and the distance the radiation travels through the atmosphere. Types of scattering. There are 4 types of scattering which take place. Scattering is the redirection of electromagnetic radiation by particles suspended in the atmosphere. The amount of scattering which takes place depends on the size of the atmospheric particles, the abundance of these particles, the wavelength of the electromagnetic radiation, and the depth of the atmosphere. Rayleigh scattering. Mie scattering. Non-selective scattering. Raman scattering. Rayleigh scattering. Rayleigh scattering was discovered by Lord Rayleigh in the 1890s, for which he received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1904. This type of scattering is caused by gases in the upper atmosphere, more specifically by particles that are smaller than the wavelength of the radiation. The degree of scattering is inversely proportional to the fourth power of wavelength. Rayleigh scattering is much greater for shorter wavelengths compared to longer wavelengths. Rayleigh scattering occurs when particles are very small compared to the wavelength of the radiation. These could be particles such as small specks of dust or nitrogen and oxygen molecules. Rayleigh scattering causes shorter wavelengths of energy to be scattered much more than longer wavelengths. Rayleigh scattering is the dominant scattering mechanism in the upper atmosphere. The fact that the sky appears blue during the day is because of this phenomenon. As sunlight passes through the atmosphere, the shorter wavelengths, i.e. blue, of the visible spectrum are scattered more than the other, longer, visible wavelengths. At sunrise and sunset, the light has to travel farther through the atmosphere than at midday, and the scattering of the shorter wavelengths is more complete. This leaves a greater proportion of the longer wavelengths to penetrate the atmosphere. Mie scattering. Mie scattering was discovered by Gustav Mie in the early 1900s. Mie scattering occurs when the particles are just about the same size as the wavelength of the radiation. That is, this type of scattering relates to particles that are equal in size to the wavelength of the radiation. Unlike Rayleigh scattering, Mie scattering is much less dependent on wavelength. In the context of the visible part of the spectrum especially, this type of scattering is caused by water vapor and dust, both of which are found in the lower atmosphere. Dust, pollen, smoke and water vapors are common causes of Mie scattering, which tends to affect longer wavelengths than those affected by Rayleigh scattering. Mie scattering occurs mostly in the lower portions of the atmosphere where larger particles are more abundant, and dominates when cloud conditions are overcast. Non-selective scattering. Non-selective scattering is caused by particles that are much larger than the incident radiation, e.g. water droplets and large dust particles. Water droplets and large dust particles can cause this type of scattering. This occurs when the particles are much larger than the wavelength of the radiation. It generally takes place in the lower atmosphere. Non-selective scattering is not wavelength dependent. All wavelengths are scattered equally. This type of scattering is the primary cause of haze in remotely sensed imagery. This type of scattering causes fog and clouds to appear white to our eyes because blue, green, and red light are all scattered in approximately equal quantities. Blue plus green plus red light equals white light. An example of haze in a ground-based photograph of a landscape is shown below. Non-selective scattering gets its name from the fact that all wavelengths are scattered about equally. Raman scattering. The final type of scattering, Raman scattering, was discovered by Sir C.V. Raman in 1928. This form of scattering occurs as a photon has an elastic collision with molecules, resulting in a loss or gain in energy. Such scattering can increase or decrease the wavelength of radiation and is associated with atmospheric particles of any size or material. In summary, atmospheric scattering is a function of the wavelength of the incident radiant energy and the size of the gas molecule, dust particle and/or water vapor droplet encountered in the atmosphere. The atmospheric path length shorter as radiation reaches the Earth's surface at noon compared with sunrise and sunset also affects scatter. Absorption. Atmospheric absorption is the process by which radiant energy is retained by substances in the atmosphere. The many different gases and particles within the atmosphere absorb radiation at both longer and shorter wavelengths than visible light. Unlike scattering, there is a loss of energy as part of this process. Energy acquired by the atmosphere in this way is radiated at longer wavelengths. There are three main absorbers of radiant energy in the atmosphere. Ozone, O3, in the upper atmosphere, which absorbs ultraviolet light. Carbon dioxide, CO2, in the lower atmosphere, which absorbs mid and far infrared wavelengths. Water vapor in the lower atmosphere, which absorbs far infrared wavelengths. There are some wavelengths of the electromagnetic spectrum where atmospheric absorption is high and others where it is low. Areas of low absorption are sometimes referred to as atmospheric windows, and it is these regions of the spectrum that provide the best opportunity for remote sensing. The key atmospheric windows are the visible window 0.4-0.9 micrometers, the near-infrared window 1.5-1.75 micrometers to 2.4 micrometers, the far-infrared window 3-5 micrometers, 8-14 micrometers. Absorption is the other main mechanism at work when electromagnetic radiation interacts with the atmosphere. In contrast to scattering, this phenomenon causes molecules in the atmosphere to absorb energy at various wavelengths. Ozone, carbon dioxide, and water vapor are the three main atmospheric constituents which absorb radiation. Ozone serves to absorb the harmful to most living things ultraviolet radiation from the sun. Without this protective layer in the atmosphere, our skin would burn when exposed to sunlight. You may have heard carbon dioxide referred to as a greenhouse gas. This is because it tends to absorb radiation strongly in the far infrared portion of the spectrum, that area associated with thermal heating, which serves to trap this heat inside the atmosphere. Water vapor in the atmosphere absorbs much of the incoming long-wave infrared and shortwave microwave radiation, between 22 micrometers and 1 meter. The presence of water vapor in the lower atmosphere varies greatly from location to location and at different times of the year. For example, the air mass above a desert would have very little water vapor to absorb energy, while the tropics would have high concentrations of water vapor, i.e., high humidity. Wavelengths that we can use most effectively because these gases absorb electromagnetic energy in very specific regions of the spectrum, they influence where in the spectrum we can look for remote sensing purposes. Those areas of the spectrum which are not severely influenced by atmospheric absorption and thus are useful to remote sensors are called atmospheric windows. As a result, we only see specific portions of the electromagnetic spectrum. This phenomenon is known as the Earth's atmospheric window. Because of ozone, water, carbon dioxide, and other molecules in the atmosphere, this saves us from harmful radiation. The curtain atmospheric window blocks specific wavelengths like gamma rays. But in reality, the curtain is the water vapor, ozone, carbon dioxide, and molecules in the atmosphere. These blocked wavelengths are known as absorption bands. Refraction. Refraction occurs when electromagnetic radiation passes from one medium to a second medium of different density. This occurs in the atmosphere where it is stratified. In a stable atmosphere, its effects are minimal. In a turbulent atmosphere, refraction influences the direction of incident and outgoing radiation, thereby affecting the geometric accuracy of a remotely sensed image. Put simply, it makes it more problematic to associate the radiant energy detected by a sensor with a specific part of the Earth's surface. The interaction of electromagnetic radiation with the Earth's surface is driven by three physical processes: reflection, absorption, and transmission of radiation. Absorption involves a reduction in radiation intensity as its energy is converted on reaching an object on the Earth's surface. Reflection involves the returning or throwback of the radiation incident on an object on the Earth's surface, whilst transmission entails the transfer of radiative energy from an object on the Earth's surface to surrounding bodies. These processes, reflection, absorption, and transmission, are specific to each object on the Earth's surface and so vary from one place to the next. Furthermore, a sensor is used in remote sensing measures just one of these, namely reflection. Energy interaction with Earth's surface. A more specific concept, spectral reflectance, underpins much remote sensing. Spectral reflectance refers to the amount of reflectance in a specified wavelength range. Spectral reflectance depends on the type of material at the Earth's surface. The nature of the surface, particularly whether it is a rough surface or a smooth surface. Smooth surfaces produce what is known as specular reflection, where the reflected radiation is concentrated in a particular direction that can be calculated from the geometry of the object and source of incident radiation. Rough surfaces produce diffuse reflection, where radiation is reflected in disparate directions, see illustration below. The wavelength of the incident radiation. Other factors, such as the slope of the surface, its condition, and so on. Diffuse and specular reflection. Each object on the Earth's surface has its own unique spectral properties: reflection, absorption, and radiation. These properties combine to produce a spectral signature, and it is these spectral signatures that can be used to distinguish one object from another. Spectral signatures are conventionally plotted as a percentage reflectance, on the y-axis against wavelength, on the x-axis. The illustration below shows some generalized spectral signatures for different types of Earth's surface materials for the visible, near-infrared, and short-wave infrared parts of the spectrum. Notice, for example, how the reflectance properties for water are lower across most wavebands than the terrestrial surfaces shown in this illustration. Spectral signatures. A spectral signature can give us valuable insights into an object's characteristics, and we can of course crudely relate reflectance in the visible portion of the spectrum to its color as perceived by the human eye, see illustration below. How far are we able to detect an object's spectral signature? This is a crucial question in remote sensing, and the answer depends amongst other factors on the radiometric resolution of the sensor, the amount of atmospheric scattering, the surface roughness of the Earth object, the degree of spatial variability in the remotely sensed imagery. Thank you.